I heard her say it before I saw her. Thursday night, 9:45, and I was carrying a bag from that bakery on 18th Street. The one she liked. Inside was a chocolate tart, her favorite, because that's what I did. I brought her things. I tried. The apartment door clicked shut behind me, and that's when I heard her voice drifting from the living room. Relaxed. Comfortable. The kind of tone you only use when you think no one important is listening. "Oh, Marcus? Please." I stopped in the hallway, keys still in my hand. Her sister Claire's voice came through the speakerphone, tinny but clear. "He's what?" Lauren laughed. It wasn't a mean laugh, exactly. It was worse than that. It was casual, easy, like she was talking about the weather or commenting on a TV show. "He's lucky I even keep him around." I stood there. The takeout bag crinkled slightly in my grip. I didn't move, didn't breathe loudly, just listened. Claire's response was nervous laughter. Lauren continued, taking a sip of something. "Wine, probably. I mean, he's fine. He's just there, you know? Just there." Something clicked in my mind. Not anger. Not hurt, exactly. Clarity. All those little moments suddenly made sense. The way she planned trips without asking my opinion. How she talked over me at dinners with her friends. The fact that she'd stopped looking at me when I spoke, really looking at me, months ago. I wasn't her partner. I was furniture. I set the bakery bag down on the hall table. Quietly. Then I walked into the living room. Lauren was stretched out on the couch, feet on the ottoman, wine glass in hand. Her phone sat on the coffee table, speaker on. She looked up when I entered, and something flickered across her face. Surprise. Maybe a hint of concern. I didn't say anything at first. Just walked over calmly. She watched me, uncertain now, as I leaned down. I kissed her forehead. A soft kiss. The kind I'd given her 1,000 times. Then I straightened up and looked right at the phone. Your luck just ran out. I picked up her phone, ended the call, and set it back down on the coffee table. Then I turned and walked to the bedroom. Behind me, silence. Then Lauren's voice, confused and sharp. "Marcus? What was that supposed to mean?" I didn't answer. I pulled out my phone and started searching. Moving companies. Philadelphia. Next day service. She appeared in the doorway. "Marcus, are you seriously upset about a joke?" I found what I needed. A company with availability. Not tomorrow, they were booked. Tuesday. That would work. "Claire and I always talk like that," Lauren said. She crossed her arms. "You're being dramatic." I called the number. It rang twice before someone answered. "Yeah, hi," I said. "I need to book a truck for Tuesday morning. 1-bedroom apartment worth of stuff." Lauren's voice rose. "Marcus, put the phone down and talk to me." I gave him the address. Confirmed the time. 8 a.m. "You're being ridiculous," Lauren said. I thanked the person on the phone and hung up. Then I opened my browser again. That apartment I'd looked at 2 months ago, the 1-bedroom in Fairmount. I'd saved the listing. Just in case. Some part of me had known. I called the landlord. "Wait," Lauren said. She moved into the room. "Are you actually?" "Yes. The unit's still available?" I said into the phone. "I can sign the lease tomorrow and move in Tuesday." Lauren stared at me. I could see it happening. The realization settling in. This wasn't a fight. This wasn't me trying to make a point. This was me leaving. I finished the call. Lease signed electronically, deposit transferred. Done. Then I went to the closet and pulled out my duffel bag. "You're being insane," Lauren said, but her voice had changed. Uncertainty crept in at the edges. I started packing. Essentials first. Enough clothes for 4 days. Toiletries. Laptop. My grandfather's watch from the dresser. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. Lauren tried. "You're taking this completely out of context." I folded a shirt. Placed it in the bag. "If you'd let me explain." "I heard exactly what you meant," I said. She flinched. "Maybe if you'd been more present, I wouldn't feel that way." I zipped the toiletry case. Added it to the bag. "You can't blame me for being frustrated," she continued. "This is exactly why I said what I said. You just shut down." I stopped packing for a moment. Looked at her. "I've never said you were lucky I kept you around." She opened her mouth. Closed it. No response to that. I finished packing the duffel. Then I sat on the edge of the bed. She was still standing near the closet, arms wrapped around herself now. "Where are you even going?" she asked. "I found a place." "You're just going to throw away 3 years? Over something I said to my sister?" "You already threw it away," I said. "I just overheard the announcement." "It was a private conversation. It wasn't about what you said. It's that you meant it." She sat down on the other end of the bed. We both stared at the wall. Remember that dinner last month? I asked. With your friends from grad school? She frowned. What about it? You told that whole story about the trip to Vermont. Our trip. But you told it like you went alone. I was sitting right there, and you said I decided to drive up, and I found this amazing inn and I hiked Mount Mansfield. I was on that hike, Lauren. I was the one who suggested that inn. She looked down. And the vacation you planned for next month? I continued. You booked everything without asking if those dates worked for me. You just told me we were going. When I mentioned I had a work thing that week, you said I should figure it out. People compromise. Compromise means two people deciding together. You decided, then informed me. I stood up. You stopped seeing me 6 months ago. I've just been furniture. That's not fair. You told your sister I was lucky you kept me around. Was that fair? She didn't answer. I kept trying to fix things. I said. You were waiting for an excuse to leave. So I'm giving you what you wanted. Just not on your timeline. She looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw something genuine in her face. Uncertainty. Maybe even fear. I don't want you to go, she said quietly. You didn't want me to stay. You wanted someone who'd stay anyway. The distinction hung in the air between us. I picked up my duffel bag. I'm sleeping on the couch tonight. I'll start packing the rest tomorrow. I walked out. She didn't follow. Around midnight, I heard her crying through the bedroom door. Soft, muffled sounds. I stayed on the couch. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because going to her would just delay the inevitable. I pulled out my phone, stared at it for a while. Then I called Derek. He answered on the third ring, voice groggy. It's midnight, man. This better be good. I'm leaving her. Silence. Then I heard movement. He was sitting up. What happened? Overheard her on the phone with Claire. She said I was lucky she kept me around. Jesus. I booked a moving truck for Tuesday. Another pause. Longer this time. You're serious? Yeah. Where you going? Found a place in Fairmount. 1 bedroom. Signed the lease already. Derek let out a low whistle. That was fast. It's been slow for months, I said. Tonight was just when I finally heard it out loud. You doing okay? I thought about that. I don't know. I'm not angry. I'm just done. Done is sometimes worse than angry. Yeah. We sat in silence for a moment. I could hear his wife in the background, asking who it was. He told her. She said something I couldn't make out. Sarah says you can crash here if you need to. Derek offered. I'm fine. I'll stay on the couch until Tuesday. You sure? Yeah. I need to pack anyway. Might as well be here. All right. But call if you need anything. I mean it. I will. Marcus. Yeah. For what it's worth, I never liked how she treated you. Sarah and I talked about it a few times. We just didn't know how to bring it up. That hit me harder than I expected. Other people had noticed. It wasn't just in my head. Thanks for telling me, I said. Yeah. Get some sleep if you can. You too. I hung up. Set the phone on the coffee table. The apartment was quiet again except for the occasional sound from the bedroom. Lauren had stopped crying, or at least I couldn't hear it anymore. I lay back down on the couch, stared at the ceiling. Sleep didn't come easy, but eventually it came. Morning came. Friday. I took the day off work. I had vacation days saved, might as well use them now. Lauren emerged from the bedroom around 9. Her eyes were red. She'd slept in her makeup. I made coffee, she said. I'm fine, thank you. She stood in the kitchen doorway, mug in both hands, watching me. I was already pulling boxes from the hall closet. The ones we'd saved from when we moved in together. 18 months ago. Felt like a lifetime now. I started in the second bedroom, the one we used as an office. My desk, my books, my things. I worked methodically, labeled each box in neat handwriting. Books, office supplies, electronics. Lauren appeared in the doorway. Let me help. I've got it. Marcus, we should talk about this. I continued packing books. Hardcovers on the bottom, paperbacks on top. Which books are yours? She asked, trying a different approach. All the ones on the left shelf. She watched me work. I could feel her helplessness. She wasn't used to this. Wasn't used to not having control. Saturday came. I drove to the U-Haul place on Columbus Boulevard and bought more boxes. Packing tape. Markers. I spent the day wrapping dishes, boxing up the kitchen items I'd brought to the relationship. The coffee maker I'd bought. My grandmother's serving bowls. The cast iron skillet I'd had since college. Lauren tried to help again. I let her this time. We worked in silence. She'd hand me a dish. I'd wrap it, place it in the box. An assembly line of dismantling a life. Do you want the blender? She asked at one point. I bought it. Right. She set it aside for my pile. I forgot. That was the problem. She'd forgotten what was mine and what was hers because she'd stopped seeing the boundaries. Stopped seeing me as separate from the background of her life. Evening came. We'd been packing for hours. I was in the office, taping up another box of books. Lauren appeared in the doorway. She'd changed clothes. Put on the black shirt I'd always liked. Her hair was down. She'd put on perfume. I'm exhausted, she said softly. Want to take a break? I looked at her. Saw what she was doing. I'm going to keep packing, I said. She stepped into the room. Marcus, we've been at this all day. We could both use a break. You can take a break. I'm fine. She moved closer. Put her hand on my arm. Come on. Let's just stop for a bit. Forget about all this. We could order dinner, open some wine. I gently removed her hand. That's not going to happen. Why not? We're still here. We're still us. We haven't been us for a long time. Her face shifted. Frustration replacing the softness. So that's it. You won't even try? Trying would mean you wanted to fix this before Thursday. Before I heard what you really think. Now you're trying because you're scared. Maybe I needed to be scared to realize what I was losing. That's the problem, I said. You shouldn't need to lose something to know its value. She stood there, hand still outstretched slightly, like she'd forgotten to pull it back. Then she dropped it to her side. I'm trying to make this work. You're trying to stop me from leaving. That's different. She turned and walked out. I heard her bedroom door close. Not a slam, just a firm close. I went back to packing books. Sunday. Her parents called. I heard her in the bedroom, voice low. She didn't tell them. Too embarrassed, probably. Or maybe still hoping this would blow over. But then Claire called. That conversation was different. Lauren took it in the living room. Didn't try to hide it. I was in the kitchen packing glassware, but I could hear everything. He heard what I said. Pause. No, he's actually leaving. Longer pause. Tuesday. The truck comes Tuesday. Her voice cracked. She argued with Claire for a while, got defensive, then went quiet. When she hung up, she just sat on the couch staring at the coffee table. She stayed there for an hour. I packed around her. Sunday evening. The apartment was half filled with boxes now. 34 of them. I'd counted. My whole life in 34 boxes. I was packing my closet when I found them. A shoebox pushed to the back of the top shelf. I pulled it down, opened it. Photos. From when we first started dating. Lauren and me at the shore, her laughing at something I'd said. The two of us at Derek and Sarah's wedding. A selfie from our first trip together, Vermont, both of us windswept and grinning. I sat on the edge of the bed, looking through them. In every photo, we were looking at each other. Really looking. Like we were the most interesting people in each other's world. When did that stop? When did we go from looking at each other to looking past each other? There was one photo near the bottom. More recent. Someone had taken it at a barbecue last summer. Lauren and I were standing next to each other, but we weren't touching. Weren't looking at each other. We were both looking at our phones. Two people standing together, but completely separate. I put the photos back in the box. Taped it shut. Wrote, personal miscellaneous on the side. Lauren appeared in the doorway. She'd been watching me. What was that? She asked. Old photos. Can I see? Already packed them. She nodded. Didn't push. We were happy once, weren't we? Yeah, we were. What changed? I thought about it. Really thought about it. We stopped being curious about each other. Stopped asking questions. Stopped caring about the answers. When did that happen? Slowly. Then all at once. She sat down on the bed next to me. Not close enough to touch. I miss who we were. Me too. But we can't go back to being those people. And who we are now doesn't work. How do you know? Maybe we could. Lauren, I packed photos of us looking happy. But I also packed photos of us looking like strangers. We've been strangers for months. We just kept pretending we weren't. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood up. I'm going to take a walk. Okay. She left. I heard the apartment door close behind her. I went back to packing. Monday morning. One more day? Lauren was up early. She'd put on makeup, done her hair. Trying to maintain some dignity, I guessed. I was in the bedroom, packing my clothes. She stood in the doorway. What if I said I was wrong? I stopped folding. Looked at her. When? I asked. Thursday night, or just now? Both. All of it. What if I said I was wrong about all of it? I believe you. Hope flickered in her eyes. But it doesn't change anything, I said. Why not? Because you had to lose me to value me. That's not the same as wanting me. She leaned against the doorframe. That's not fair. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. It was how you felt. Maybe how you still feel. You're just scared now because it's real. She couldn't argue with that. She tried, opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I went back to packing. That evening, we ordered food. Just habit. We'd always ordered from the same Thai place on Monday nights. The delivery guy knew our order. We ate at the table. Didn't talk. The silence wasn't angry anymore. Just sad. Before dinner, I'd taken some boxes down to the building entrance, stacking them by the door for the movers. On my way back up, I ran into Mr. Patterson from 2A. He was checking his mail. Big move tomorrow, he asked, gesturing to the boxes. Yeah, found a new place. He nodded slowly. He was older, maybe 70. Widower. Lived alone with a cat. Sometimes moving on is the bravest thing you can do. I wasn't sure what to say to that. My wife and I almost split up once, he continued. Long time ago now. We were young, stupid, fighting about everything. She packed her bags one night. What happened? I asked her why she was leaving. You know what she said? She said she wasn't leaving because she didn't love me. She was leaving because I'd stopped acting like I loved her. He closed his mailbox. Took me about 10 seconds to realize she was right. I spent the next 40 years making sure she never felt that way again. That's a good story, I said. It is. But here's the thing, son. It only worked because I changed that night. Right then. Not the next day. Not after she'd already left. That night. He looked at me. Some people don't figure it out until it's too late. And that's okay too. Sometimes too late is just too late. He patted my shoulder and headed toward his apartment. I carried another load of boxes down. His words stayed with me. Back upstairs, Lauren was setting the table for dinner. Where did we go wrong? Lauren asked finally. I thought about it. Really thought about it. You started keeping score, I said. And I stopped being on your team. She pushed her food around her plate. I didn't mean to. I know. Can we? She stopped herself. Started again. If we could go back, if we could try again, would you want to? It doesn't matter. We can't go back. But if we could. I looked at her. Really looked at her. She was beautiful. She was smart. She was someone I'd loved. But love wasn't enough when respect was gone. No, I said. Even if we could go back, I wouldn't. Because I'd know how it ends. She nodded slowly. Set down her fork. Went to bed early. I stayed up late, checking my lists. Making sure I hadn't forgotten anything important. The truck would be here in the morning. But I wasn't really looking at the lists. I was thinking about a moment from 6 months ago. Maybe that's when I'd known, deep down, even if I hadn't admitted it. We'd been at her company's holiday party. Open bar, fancy venue in Old City. I'd been talking to one of her co-workers, a guy from her department. Nice enough. He'd asked how Lauren and I met. I was halfway through the story when Lauren walked up and interrupted. Didn't say excuse me. Just started talking to her co-worker about a work thing. Like I wasn't there. Like I was a piece of furniture she'd bumped into by accident. I'd stood there for a second, sentence half finished, then walked away. Got a drink at the bar. Watched her network and laugh and be charming with everyone who mattered. When we got home that night, I'd asked her about it. Why she'd cut me off like that. She'd looked confused. I don't even remember that. You're being sensitive. Maybe I was. Or maybe that was the moment I realized I'd become invisible to her. That my presence was expected but not valued. That I was the person who'd be there at the end of the night, but not the person who mattered during it. I let it go. Added it to the pile of things I didn't want to examine too closely. But it had settled somewhere in my chest. A weight I couldn't name. Thursday night, when I heard her say those words to Claire, that weight finally had a name. Irrelevance. I closed the notebook with my lists. The apartment was quiet. Lauren was asleep, or at least in the bedroom with the lights off. Tomorrow would be hard, but staying would have been harder. I barely slept. Tuesday, 8 a.m. The buzzer rang at 8:03. 2 guys from the moving company. Professional, efficient. They'd done this 1,000 times. Lauren was awake, dressed, standing in the kitchen with coffee, watching. The movers got to work. I directed them. The desk from the office. The bookshelf. The reading chair from the corner, the one that had been my grandfather's. Lauren's voice cut through the noise. That was his grandfather's. I nodded to the movers. Careful on the stairs. I always liked that chair, Lauren said. I know. They carried it down. 3 flights of stairs. I heard it bump against the wall once. winced. But they got it to the truck safely. Box after box. They moved efficiently. I'd labeled everything clearly. Lauren watched from various doorways. Kitchen, hallway, living room. Like she couldn't decide where to stand. At one point, I was taking the coffee maker. You're taking the coffee maker? She asked. I bought it. Right. She looked around the kitchen, seeing suddenly how much of it had been mine. Right. The movers were loading my books. An entire wall of them, boxed up. Lauren picked one up from a remaining stack. You never finished this one, she said, holding up a novel I'd been halfway through. I'll finish it now. I'll have time. The implication hung there. Time without her. Time that was my own. She set the book down, followed me to the hallway where I was checking the remaining items. Marcus, I've been thinking. What if we did therapy? Real therapy, not just talking about it. I stopped, looked at her. We could work on this, she continued. People do it all the time. They have problems, they get help, they fix things. When did you start thinking about therapy? Last night. I looked up couples counselors. There's one in Center City who has good reviews. You looked them up last night. Yes. After 3 years together. After months of problems. You looked up a therapist last night. She faltered. Better late than never. It's too late, Lauren. Therapy works when both people want to be there. When both people think the relationship is worth saving. You don't think that. You think I'm worth keeping around. Those aren't the same thing. That's not fair. I'm trying now. You're trying to not be alone. That's different than trying to be with me. One of the movers came back up the stairs. Where do you want this lamp, buddy? The truck, I said. Everything from this room goes. The mover nodded and carried it down. Lauren stood in the hallway, arms wrapped around herself. Out of moves. Out of tactics. Mrs. Kapoor from down the hall came out as the movers were making a trip. She was a small woman in her 70s, always kind. Moving out, Marcus? Yes, ma'am. Found a place in Fairmount. That's a nice area. Good luck to you. She didn't ask why. She was too polite for that. But I saw her glance at Lauren, then back at me. She understood. The last box was marked Kitchen Miscellaneous in my handwriting. I carried it myself. Didn't need the movers for this one. I took it down the 3 flights, loaded it into the truck. Then I came back up. Lauren was standing in the doorway of the apartment. The space behind her looked strange now. Empty spots where my furniture had been. Blank walls where my photos had hung. The echo of a life being divided. She was crying. Not dramatically. Just quiet tears running down her face. Marcus. I stopped in front of her. Waited. I didn't think you'd really do it. I know. Can we? Her voice caught. Can we try again? In a few months? When things have calmed down. I shook my head. Gentle but firm. Why? She asked. Why can't we try? Because the next person you're with needs to know they're chosen. Not that they were lucky. She understood. I could see it in her eyes. The truth of what she'd said, what she'd felt, what she'd done. I didn't kiss her goodbye. Didn't hug her. Those gestures would have been dishonest. Take care of yourself, Lauren. She nodded. Couldn't speak. I walked down the stairs. 3 flights. Each step taking me further from what we'd been. The movers were waiting by the truck. All set, one of them asked. Yeah, we're done here. I climbed into the passenger seat. The truck rumbled to life. I glanced up at the building. Lauren was still standing in the doorway, 3 floors up. Small from this distance. Watching. The truck pulled away from the curb. We drove down Locust Street, turned onto Broad. The city passed by. I'd lived in Philadelphia for 6 years. Knew these streets well. But today they looked different. Like I was seeing them fresh. The driver made small talk. Asked if I was from the area. I answered briefly. Polite, but not chatty. We crossed the Schuylkill River, headed into Fairmount. The neighborhood was quieter than Rittenhouse. Tree-lined streets. Row homes with small front gardens. My new place was on a corner lot. 2nd floor of a renovated building. The movers unloaded efficiently. Up 1 flight this time instead of down 3. They assembled my bed, positioned my desk. I tipped them well. They left. And then I was alone. In a new place. Starting over. The apartment was smaller. 1 bedroom, decent kitchen, good light. Empty except for my boxes and furniture. I should have felt sad. Should have felt something heavy. But instead, I just felt clear. For 3 years, I'd been trying to earn a place I already had. Trying to prove I was worth keeping around. Worth the effort. Worth loving. Now I was in a place where I didn't need to earn anything. I unpacked the essentials. Made the bed. Set up the coffee maker. Hung my grandfather's watch on the hook by the door. I opened the box marked Personal Miscellaneous, the one with the photos. I took them out, looked through them again. Slower this time. There was one I'd forgotten about. Lauren and me at a park, first month we were dating. She was looking at me like I'd hung the moon. I was looking at her the same way. That person in the photo felt like a stranger now. Young, hopeful, naive about how hard love could be. I felt it then. The first real wave of grief. Not for Lauren exactly, for who we'd been. For the possibility that had existed once and was gone now. I sat down on the floor, back against the wall, and let myself feel it. The loss. The sadness. The strange, empty feeling of having done the right thing in a way that still hurt. I didn't cry, but my chest felt tight. My throat felt thick. I sat there for a while, just breathing through it. Then I stood up, put the photos in a drawer. Not thrown away. Not on display. Just somewhere safe where I could look at them someday without it cutting so deep. Around noon, my phone buzzed. A text from Lauren. I'm sorry. I stared at it for a moment. Then typed back. I know you are. Take care. I didn't block her number, but I turned off notifications. Maybe someday we'd talk again. Maybe not. It didn't matter right now. I made lunch. Stood at the window eating a sandwich, looking out at the street below. A couple walked by with a dog. Kids played basketball in a driveway across the way. Normal life happening all around me. I finished the sandwich. Washed the plate. Went back to unpacking. Box by box, I built a new space. My books on the shelves. My clothes in the closet. My life, just mine, taking shape in new rooms. That night, I sat in my grandfather's reading chair. The one Lauren had always liked. I picked up that novel I'd never finished. Started reading where I'd left off. It was quiet. Peaceful. No tension in the air. No walking on eggshells. No wondering if I'd said the wrong thing or forgotten to do something that would earn me a dismissive comment. Just quiet. And for the first time in a long time, that quiet felt good. I read until I was tired. Then I went to bed. Slept better than I had in months. The next morning, I woke up in a new place. Sunlight coming through different windows. The sounds of a different street outside. I made coffee. Sat at my desk. Looked around at the boxes still left to unpack. There was a knock at the door around 10. I opened it to find Derek standing there with a bag from the diner on Fairmount Avenue. Brought breakfast, he said. You didn't have to do that. I know. But Sarah insisted. Said you probably haven't eaten real food in days. He walked in, looking around. Nice place. It's small, but it's mine. We sat at my small kitchen table. He'd brought eggs, bacon, toast, hash browns. Enough for both of us. How you doing? He asked. I'm okay. Really? That's good. That's really good, man. He took a bite of toast. Sarah wanted me to tell you we're proud of you. Proud of me for breaking up with my girlfriend. Proud of you for respecting yourself enough to walk away. He looked at me seriously. That takes guts. A lot of people stay in situations like that because leaving is scary. You did it anyway. I didn't know what to say to that. She texted me, you know, Derek said. Lauren, this morning. What did she say? Asked if I'd talk to you. Asked if you were okay. Asked if I thought you'd change your mind. What did you tell her? Told her you were fine. Told her no, you wouldn't change your mind. Then I told her she should probably stop texting me and figure out why she didn't appreciate you until you were gone. I smiled despite myself. You didn't. I did. Sarah said I was too harsh. I told her someone needed to say it. We ate in comfortable silence for a while. You doing anything today? Derek asked. More unpacking. That's about it. Sarah and I are having people over Sunday. Just burgers and beer. Low key. You should come. I don't know if I'm ready for social stuff yet. That's fair. Offer stands though. And hey, no pressure, but Sarah has a friend. Single. Graphic designer. Very not Lauren. I laughed. It's been 2 days. I know. I'm just saying. When you're ready. Whenever that is. There's a whole world out there of people who'll treat you right. Thanks, man. He finished his coffee. Stood up. All right. I'm gonna let you get back to it. But call me if you need anything. I mean it. Sarah does too. I will. He clapped me on the shoulder. Proud of you, Marcus. Really. After he left, I stood at the window again. Watched him walk to his car, drive away. The street was busy with mid-morning traffic. Life happening. People going places. The world spinning on. I went back to unpacking. There was work to do. A new life to build. But I wasn't afraid of it. Because when I walked away from that apartment, when I left Lauren standing in that doorway, I'd made a choice. Not out of anger or spite, but out of respect for myself. I chose being alone over being treated like I was optional. I chose starting over instead of staying comfortable. I chose myself. And as I sat there in my new apartment, coffee in hand, I realized something. She'd been right about one thing. I was lucky, just not the way she'd meant it. I was lucky I'd heard her say it. Lucky I'd finally understood what I'd been accepting. Lucky I'd found the strength to walk away. The truck had come Tuesday, just like I'd planned. It had taken my things from one place to another. But the real move, the important one, had happened Thursday night. That's when I'd stopped being someone who stayed because he was afraid to leave, and became someone who left because he knew he deserved better. I didn't look back after that. There was no need to. I was already home. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.